Our top story at this hour, Comair has announced that it is unable to operate in lockdown and has decided to implement a business rescue plan. Comair owns Kaluda.com and has not been operating since the 17th of March. Restricted air travel is only allowed in Level 3 lockdown and full domestic air travel at Level 2, as well as international air travel only at Level 1. Now, just last month, staff were asked to take leave or unpaid leave during lockdown as Comair could not afford to pay full salaries. And to talk more about the implications of this, I'm joined via Skype by aviation expert Phuthego Mojapele. Phuthego, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. On Tuesday, we heard that Comair had filed for voluntary business rescue. Looking at the lockdown and perhaps how it's impacted the aviation sector at large, can you paint that picture and give us some context about the aviation industry, perhaps prior to the lockdown, and where it finds itself today?
Good morning, Liezle, and good morning to your viewers. The aviation sector has really been the hardest hit out of all the sectors of economy around the world. The aviation is the most hardest hit. With the results that were released by IATA in end of April, the expectation is that there's going to be over 25,000 jobs that are going to be lost within the sector. And in fact, this was just a preliminary research that they have done, that more than 50 million jobs are going to be lost in the industry, based on what is going to be happening around the world. But, with us here at home, when you look at the industry as a whole, looking at South African Airways, you're looking at the SA Express, and now the latest is Comair. And when you look at Comair has done very, very well in the past, extremely well. In fact, it has been the one that has been really making quite a lot of profits around the country. With all the other airlines, you would date him back as far as during the times of one time that we know that it's gone, and there was another one that came nationwide as well. It's gone. Velvet Skies, they are all gone. But Comair has been standing, and because it has been run very much well in terms of operations, they have optimized their operations very well. So for them to suggest to go on business rescue, it is indeed people that are very much proactive. They are living in the reality of the situation, and I'm sure they're on top of their game, and they have calculated their moves very well in terms of the optimizing business and making sure that not so many jobs are going to be lost, but they are trying to rescale and make sure that things are going towards the right direction.
Phuthego, let's look at that restructuring process that they in fact were underway, or was announced rather, from the 1st of March. And obviously this is due to the financial sustainability that they hope to perhaps salvage the situation, as the lockdown is in fact eased over the next few months. We're looking at the JSE. They've gone to the JSE and asked for these shares to be suspended. What are their options? What ways can they actually dip into at this point?
Let's first look at how prior to Corona, what happened prior to Corona. Last year, we know that the CEO, who has been at the helm of that institution for a very long time, Mr. Eric Venter, had resigned and leaving the company after so many years of success in the Comair. And subsequent to that, we know that they had procured 2 737 MAX, and they had only taken one delivery at that time when the one at Ethiopia crashed, and when there was a whole ban on the 737 MAX. So at that time, it had only 2 weeks here at home operating, and it had to be grounded. The second one had not been delivered. Now, they took quite a lot of money spending on the infrastructure in the virtue of buying aircrafts to make sure that they optimize their operation. You would remember also that Comair is the biggest operator out of Lanseria, going to both Cape Town and Durban out of Lanseria. And also, they're also operating in other places like your Vic Falls, as well as Namibia and many other regional operations. And they have been doing quite well. But they took a serious knock of 564 million this year, announcing for the very first time since they've been in the business of aviation and participating on the market that has been very much volatile. And you also remember that SAA is also owing them quite a substantial amount of money. So all this culmination of factors that are at the table, you can tell that this corona exacerbated the problems. But the good thing about Comair is that they are proactive. They are able to even stand up and say, no, we know what we are doing, and we are going to put ourselves under business rescue.
Looking at the business rescue plan and perhaps how they aim to salvage the situation for customers, I mean, for those who book tickets and for those who want to use the airline, I mean, what measures have been put in place to ensure that they don't directly lose their money?
Customers won't lose money, to be honest with you. There's no customer who's going to lose money. Same applies to the SAA. We know SAA has been under business rescue, and they've been flying. And I'm sure Comair is going to do the same thing. What will happen is that if they were to scale down on operations in terms of reducing the number of routes, they will probably, because you must remember, Comair operates Kulula and British Airways. Now, this is one company. So in terms of how they're going to scale down their operations, if they were to really cut down on the flights and the destinations, they would probably reduce on the other side, and the other side will still continue, so they can move passengers in between the services, which is Comair as well as British Airways as well as the Kulula. But I do not see much of a difference. I think what we are going to see here is they are going to probably scale down on the routes that are not really cutting it. But at the same time, it's very early for us to sit here and predict how they are going to deal with it, because it can only be clear immediately when the business practitioner has finalized his own research and making sure that he has done everything within the powers and make sure that he sustain or present a lucrative business suggestion as to where to go from here. But the passengers should not be worried about the tickets that they have booked. They are safe, and I don't think there's any panic on that. We just need to see how the direction of the company is going to take.
Phuthego, let's chat about, the effects on tourism. As you mentioned, Comair operates with Included.com as well as British Airways. We've seen that tourism ultimately, contributes to about 3% to the GDP. And as it stands, not much activity has been underway given the lockdown, the nationwide lockdown. Walk us through what the effects will be on the tourism sector now and then even future scenarios.
At this stage, again, I want to re-emphasize the point. Nobody knows how the economy is going to look like after post-corona. That's one thing that we need to be clear about. In terms of the tourism, people that would want to visit the destinations now, they are going to be very much wary of the fact that corona has ravaged the society so much that people will not be trusting how where they're going to go, whether it's going to be safe. The other thing is optimizing the operations of the airlines in terms of social distance and so on, meaning that if you were to implement the social distancing from the airline, especially the low-cost market is concerned, it means you are going to have at least the middle seat empty, and that is not sustainable for the airline. I mean, we're talking about almost half of the plane now that's not going to be accommodated on the flight. So tourism definitely is going to be affected because not everybody would be willing to move around the country or the destinations from wherever they're coming from. And also the operators as well, they are going to be very much wary of what is going to be the results of accepting people coming in without being checked and so on. Because once there's a case reported in your operation, obviously your business is going to be affected. But as far as in aviation is concerned, it's going to be very difficult to come back and still make the same amount of money that you would make per aircraft. But because social distance is going to be very much at play here. You can imagine 3 people sitting on one seat next to each other. That would not be any social distancing. So I don't know how the airlines are going to do that, but the fact of the matter is that the business is not going to be the same as it used to be.
Phuthego Mojapele, of course, aviation expert, just chatting to us about Comair's decision to be placed under business rescue, voluntary business rescue.